see if it works.
But does that have record? Does that have a recorder?
37 minutes, ça.
It's like a camera, but it can. I guess.
Camera.
J'appuie là.
Non mais j'appuie, c'est bon.
Oui, c'est bon parce qu'il y a le truc.
D'accord.
Okay, so well, we're going to first explain more deeply what we're doing so that you can understand why.
Yeah.
So we wanted to focus on the soft power of the U.S., and that's how we found your book.
Yeah.
But we're focusing on the cultural and artistic aspect, not so much the politics and their,
Sure.
how you call it, like the hard power, but
Right.
more on the cultural aspect. And we're basing it on television, cinema,
Sure.
brands.
Well,
And we wanted to start by doing going back a little bit in history to see when it started and how it's evolved. So we figured that it started in the 20th century.
yeah.
And we wanted to see
The concept itself, or the actual?
no, the actual soft power, like cultural soft power of the U.S. in the world.
Of the U.S. Okay. Yes.
The US.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Well, as a
Yeah.
concept, I don't know how old it is.
Okay. Sure.
So first, we wanted to ask you how you decided to research on that topic specifically, and how did you come across the idea of writing a book about it? Because your book is really related to our.
Well, I've always written about the media and entertainment world.
Yes, like in your book Free for All.
Yes, that was another book. Yeah. So, in other words, I've always written about. I did my PhD thesis at Sciences Po on television.
Okay. And why did you decide to focus on the U.S. and on their cultural influence?
Because the U.S. is the greatest cultural power in the world, right?
Yes, it is.
It's the Roman Empire of the modern world. But, you know, the Roman Empire had soft power, right? And so did the concept of soft power is very recent. It was coined by Joseph Nye around 1990. And he was a professor at Harvard, but he was also Under Secretary of State of Defense for Bill Clinton. And there was a great debate about American power in the 1980s. And the view at the time was that American power was declining. And at that time, Japanese power was increasing. And so there was a big view about how, there was a debate about power, American power, and various kinds of power. Because as you know, you can have military power, you can have economic power, all right? You can have ideological power, right? In other words, culture. Because soft power is ideological by definition, right?
Yeah, it's not military.
Yeah, that's right. And so America, as you know, has massive military power, and has a huge economic power, but now, as you know, is being rivaled by China and so forth. Right? But so the idea of soft power was the other piece. That people like Joseph Nye were saying, you know, but you have to understand that America also has tremendous soft power resources, because you know, the American culture and American values and American entertainment and McDonald's and Coca-Cola, they are, you know, they overwhelm the entire planet. Leaving aside the military power and the economic power, they're all related, of course, right? Because the Roman Empire conquered most of Europe through military means. Then they instituted this political power too, right? So
yes.
Military, political, economic, and ideological. And so the Roman Empire conquered through military means. Then they instituted their political power by institutional structures, right? And then they exploited the economic resources. But overlapping the Roman Empire was soft power, Roman civilization, the Latin language and so forth, right?
Yes.
The Christian religion was also soft power, because it was Christendom, right? Which emerged out of the Roman Empire. After the Roman Empire collapsed, Europe became, that's why South America was Catholic, because the Catholic religion moved, globalized around the world, right? And had influence extended through Spain and Portugal and France and so forth. So, you know, soft power can take many forms. American soft power is largely dates to the rise of the United States as a global power about 100 years ago, after the First World War, right?
Okay.
And that's exactly when the movie industry, the Hollywood movie industry was taking off. And that's exactly when sound recording was taking off, you know, like records and so on,
Yeah.
right? So American soft power, America wasn't a power at all in the 19th century, right? American power emerges in the 20th century.
You said with Woodrow Wilson, like his campaign.
Woodrow Wilson was the first president. Theodore Roosevelt was the first president with a international military policy, Spanish-American War.
Yes.
But Woodrow Wilson, the United States was a big power in World War I. And this was when Hollywood was taking off around the world. Everybody knew who Charlie Chaplin was, everywhere in the world, right? And so so in other words, you have a convergence of America to military, economic, and political power in the 20th century. By the end of the Second World War, America is definitely the most powerful country in the world, right?
Yes.
In those periods, so between the First and Second World War, America emerges as the world superpower, with the exception of the Soviet Union, which is another soft power because they had communism.
Wouldn't that be more like military power, the Soviet Union?
It was military, but it was also ideological because it was based on a communist system, right?
Yes.
But American power was military, economic, and political. But American soft power was much, much more powerful than Soviet soft power because it was much more attractive. In other words, it was so attractive that people, even inside the Soviet Union, were attracted to American soft power, right?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody was attracted to Soviet soft power.
Yeah.
People weren't immigrating to the Soviet Union.
I really like the example that you gave about the leader of North Korea and how he liked Michael Jordan and how his
Right,
son
yeah,
went to
yeah.
go to
So
Disneyland, Japan.
soft power in the soft power in the 20th century was a largely American soft power. But soft power existed before, right?
Yeah.
Just that America is the global power now. And so, but soft power has takes various forms, right? It can be through education, right? In other words, by, the Fulbright scholarship and exchanges with students. And maybe one of you will go to the United States to get some exchange program. But that's soft power too, right? Because that's a way of spreading American values and education, through other elites and populations. In France, the Alliance Française was a French soft power, right? Getting people to speak French.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would say like the pillars of the American soft power would be maybe.
Well, you have education.
Yeah.
You have just diplomacy. For example, when American symphonies and stuff go around the world and playing like that, but overwhelmingly, American soft power is related to what can be called the entertainment industries, which convey lifestyle and values. And that can be anything from a Hollywood movie to a McDonald's or a Disneyland, right? There are Disneylands all over China. Why? Why do they want them? There are, McDonald's all over the world. Coca-Cola is an extension of soft power. American movies, American television shows. Sports are soft power as well,
Sports.
because they actually fashion the way people, kids all around the world, even in South America, they wear Nike T-shirts and right, and they want to be, they like Michael Jordan and all these whatever,
Yeah.
So sports, the exportation of sports can be a form of soft power as well.
But do you think that now, with the current crisis and with we're pivoting towards the emerging countries, it's declining? That soft power?
American soft power?
Yeah.
I would say that what's happening now is that American relative economic power seems to be declining. American economic power relative to other economic powers like China is declining. American military power is still quite significant, right?
Yeah.
I think the American army is bigger than is 6 times bigger than the second biggest army in the world. Right? So the American army is still very big.
Who's the second biggest? Just for curiosity.
I think it's either Russia or China, I forget. It must be Russia. But American soft power still dominates the world. I mean, can you name any other cultural model that is the Chinese, as you know?
Thinking of the Chinese, yeah,
but China doesn't have any.
India,
India has Bollywood.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
about it. But Bollywood is only largely attractive to the Indian diaspora in London, right?
Yeah, true.
Sometimes I guess, but there's nothing compelling about Chinese culture except food, I guess you could say. But what is China's soft power? I understand middle-class Americans now are enrolling their kids in Chinese language schools, right?
Yeah, language maybe.
Because they feel we have to do business with them and things like this, right? But China is not producing any soft power that is attracting the world. In fact, the Chinese are still fascinated by American soft power. If you look at what the Chinese are attracted to in China, they've got all of the kids. There have been studies in China. The teenagers they hang around Starbucks and Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they sit at the window so everyone can see them sitting there, because they want to be associated with these brands, right? So the Chinese youth, they play basketball, they go to Hollywood movies, they go to Starbucks and Kentucky Fried Chicken, they drink Coca-Cola, and even the Chinese wealthy people, they come to France and they buy Hermes scarves, they buy wine. The Chinese are still massive consumers of Western culture and values. Nobody from the West is consuming anything that's produced from China. The only thing that China produces are these, but they only provide the labor. They don't provide the ideas behind them. So I mean, China is an immense military power. An immense economic power, but it's not a huge. America still by far is the world's greatest soft power. It doesn't have any rival.
What about South America, Brazil, for example, which is rising pretty quick right now? Do you think it's still
Brazil is said because of its population, but Brazil is not. South America has not had a tremendous amount of influence on the world in terms of soft power. The only thing I can think of are the telenovelas, and they're largely exported to parts of the world like not America, not the West. Although in the United States they watch it, right, because of the Hispanic population, right?
really big Hispanic population in Florida.
That's right. They watch Ugly Betty and stuff,
Yes.
right? But South America has not become a great exporter of cultural power.
Oh, not yet.
Maybe at some point, why not? Ricky Martin, Shakira.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Shakira.
right now, I don't know. In the last few years since I've left my country, I see that people know more about our culture than before. I guess.
Yeah. Maybe Brazil will be a huge power 100 years from now, right?
Yeah.
But not now. I mean, today America still is the world's greatest soft power.
Yeah. So how do you think it will evolve in the long term? You still think that it's going to stay this way for a pretty long time?
It's hard to know. I mean, but just in terms of soft power alone, it's very difficult to see in the United States being dislodged in terms of influence. There is a lot of rivalry, for example, in the television era sphere.
Yeah, we can ask.
With news information, right?
Yeah.
Because America was, or the Anglo-American sphere was dominant for a long time with CNN and the BBC. And so there was a movement, especially at UNESCO, just up the street here. In the 1980s, there was a view that we needed a new world information order, right?
Yes.
Because the extension of Western or Anglo-American power was in communications was overwhelming the world, like even South America, right?
Yes.
Just CNN and BBC and and now we are seeing other powers are trying to get into this space, right? For example, Al Jazeera is a good example. Al Jazeera, from the Middle East, from where you're from, right? In the Arab language, from Qatar, right? And also Russia has its network called RT. France has France 24. Also, China has CCTV, right?
Arabia is
Yeah, yeah.
like
And China now has a network as well. So that is one area where the other powers are trying to come up and say, we want to have a voice. But the interesting thing that I notice is that all of these networks, all of them, including Al Jazeera,